Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. Once again, we have a special, not really special guest at all. Last time I introduced him as a special guest. We have JJ here once again.
Well, I mean, you did say I think you were going to bring me back on if I won the bet regarding the World Series, which
you did.
I did.
Listen, JJ, we gotta recognize this. Smokey JJ picked the Nationals in the seventh. It's on tape. We have it. He
as
did it.
Stupid as that pick was, it was correct.
He was correct, and you could have made a lot of money. By the way, if you would have had the courage and conviction there, you could have made a lot of money with this pick.
Oh yeah, you could have got some really good odds on that pick for sure.
Absolutely. It did happen.
I feel like when we're going to be talking about football later, there's also going to be a lot of picks that one could have made for a good amount of money.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Including your favorite team, but we'll get into that. We're obviously going to have predictions. We'll have predictions coming up for next week, but because so much happened, we're going to give a quick recap of the previous week, discuss some of the stuff that happened, and do the picks later. And no less some college football talk at the end of the broadcast for you guys, because a lot of stuff is getting mixed up there. But how about this NFL week, guys? Wasn't that fantastic? I mean, wasn't a lot of stuff happening? I knew the week was going to be insane when the Raiders won that Thursday night game.
That didn't surprise me that much, actually.
That kicked off the complete insanity.
I think you're underrating the Raiders.
How can you not underrate the Raiders? I mean, I don't understand how the Raiders are not the worst team in the league.
Might be right, though.
I say it every year.
We may be underestimating the Raiders.
I think JJ, because he doesn't have that much NFL football experience, he might be looking at it from a different vantage point, which in this situation just might be correct. But here's the thing, Smokey, you know football, you've been following it for a while, right?
Oh yeah.
A team with a head coach that's been out for 20 years, that traded its best offensive, best defensive player away a year ago, that's moving to Las Vegas of all places next year, that has rookie starting at almost every position. A team that went through Hard Knocks and the Antonio Brown drama in the offseason. Does that sound like a team to you that would have any type of structure, any type of success?
No,
with all those factors.
They should be the Bengals right now. That's what they should be.
They should be the Bengals, and I don't see why they're not. As a matter of fact, this disturbs everything that I know about how an NFL franchise works, because it just doesn't work like that. Teams like that don't win.
See, that's actually the one of those games where you would have called it an upset probably, but if I were there to predict it last week, I would have actually taken the Raiders. That's
incredible. That's because you don't second guess yourself with all the background stuff.
Exactly.
Because I'll give you names like Vontez Burfict, Richie Incognito. You don't know who those people are, probably, JJ.
I have heard one of those two names before. Yes.
Yeah, but you know, but if you're a bit familiar, you know exactly what those people are and stand for. And then you had Antonio Brown on top of that, and John Gruden, Mike Mayo. The guy came from television. John Gruden hasn't coached the NFL in over a decade. I don't understand how any of it works. But
though he is a Super Bowl winning coach, but from way back in the past.
Yeah, exactly.
This would be like if Mac Brown returned to college football, which he did to North Carolina, and now he's at the top of the polls. Well, maybe not the top of the polls because they're not really at the top of the NFL right now, but they're doing well. It'd be like if Mac Brown returned to NC. And they're killing it, but they're not.
If Bill Belichick had retired from coaching after the Tuck Rule game, after winning his Super Bowl with the Patriots, and came back in 2018 after that absence, do you think he would have success right now?
No, you wouldn't think so.
No,
I mean that's not how the cycles work. I mean,
you think Bill Walsh right now could call a successful offensive game plan in the NFL today?
No, you wouldn't think so. No, I mean the game has changed.
Not with the knowledge that he had from back then.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't think Bill Parcells would come back and dominate.
No.
So
because stuff is changing so rapidly that we're seeing coaches that like old school coaches, and that means like more than 5 years ago, literally getting out of the NFL because their stuff just ages bad. Like you look at Jason Garrett, Mike Tomlin, you saw Mike McCarthy last year, established people who are just fading out of the NFL before
the game has passed them by.
Just not achieving anymore. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So crazy stuff. I can't explain the Raiders. I've had a lot of people tell me, man, the Raiders are better than you think, and apparently they are. The rookies are doing great. Yeah, got Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller. They hit in the draft, and it seems to be all coming together. I don't get any of it, but that's how that happened. How about okay, this one I'm gonna quickly bring it up because I was very wrong on this. Ravens and Bengals. Now, last week we talked about trap games and potential upsets, and I said this is gonna be the one. You said it was gonna be Saints and Falcons, and it's gonna be a trap game. I said no, it's not. This one's gonna be the one because of Ryan Finley. Ryan Finley starting, and Ryan Finley looked a lot like Andy Dalton. It's forgivable for Ryan Finley to look like Andy Dalton because it was his first start in the NFL on the worst team in the NFL, and I think he's a better quarterback than Andy Dalton right now.
Yeah.
But the it factor wasn't there to beat Lamar Jackson, who's making his case for MVP in a ferocious Baltimore defense. Cincinnati got destroyed. Cleveland beat the Bills, which surprised me a little bit. They got their act together slightly. How about this one? How about the Jets and Giants? JJ, you brought this up before, so you were surprised by this.
It did surprise me a little bit. I mean, I know that... The thing is, I think my opinion on the Jets is still always caught a little too much by the recent events.
It's skewed by this one game that we saw when two quarterbacks got hurt on their first two plays and stuff.
No, because the thing is, right, after they came off the loss against the Patriots, I was like, no, that's the Patriots. Yeah. Darnold's gonna make the win.
Yeah.
And then he didn't. Yeah. And then it surprised me a little bit that he won now, but then again, it's the Giants.
He beat the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's
first
the thing.
Game back,
but that's the thing. He beat the Cowboys. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Then he lost to the Patriots. That's understandable.
Yeah.
And then he lost to the Dolphins, right?
Yeah. A very good Dolphins team.
Apparently are good.
Dolphins just beat the team that was that would have made the AFC playoff. I think first round bye just last week.
I mean, I guess the takeaway here is that I shouldn't have taken the result of the Dolphins game to assume that the Jets are bad, but apparently the Dolphins are good.
Dolphins fits magic.
I mean, that's what happens apparently.
Magic.
Here's what
the Dolphins are good. What happened?
What do you think?
Here's what I think happened. The Jets, they really got hurt by the Patriots. I mean, Sam Darnold was seeing ghosts, right? But I think
by the way, let's just clarify this, right? Because if people have still not known this, that doesn't mean that he was hopelessly confused and I don't know what to do. That's a common terminology in the quarterback world. Seeing ghosts meaning you're not seeing stuff. You're getting trapped by coverages. That sort of thing.
You're scared of the pocket. Is what it means.
Yeah, and you're throwing into bad places, and basically you're getting paranoid because you're feeling the pressure. That's what seeing ghosts means. It doesn't mean the conventional meaning. It has a specific meaning in the quarterback world.
Yeah, who thought that it meant the conventional? Like he actually was seeing spirits on the field.
See, it gets published on Twitter, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, he means he's seeing ghosts." Man,
I mean, to be fair, I knew that.
Yeah.
And I admittedly don't know a lot of things about football.
Yeah. So that is just very common terminology. Every quarterback in his life has said that before to his coach, and they just happen to have it on tape. How about the Chiefs and Titans? Patrick Mahomes comes back off of injury, plays one of his best games of his career, and his defense cannot give him a break at all. It seemed like the defense did fine over the last couple of weeks when they had to because Mahomes wasn't there. It kept the Chiefs in games. And now they stink it up against a Ryan Tannehill like this, and not even Patrick Mahomes can overcome it. Is this defense going to eventually cost the Chiefs a deep playoff run this year?
Oh, I think so. It may cost them the playoffs.
I don't know that much. Who you think the Raiders? Are we talking about the Raiders now?
The Raiders are coming for the Chiefs.
No, Smokey. Let's make a bet. I'll bet you this right now. I'm gonna doubt the Raiders one last time. I'm gonna make one last stand. If anyone here wants to take a bet that the Raiders will not beat up the Chiefs for the AFC playoff, I'll take it right now.
Dude, the fighting Derrick Henrys just took out the Chiefs. So it's very possible.
He was good.
That the fighting Josh Jacobs can also take out.
No. Patrick Mahomes can make the playoffs with 10 tackling dummies.
See, here's one thing that I noticed. That
you have to win. He's not winning.
What is it?
One thing that you said, and that has been pointed out before, is like, you know how the whole Chiefs team kind of like put on their A game when Patrick Mahomes was gone, kind of like to tide it over.
Yeah.
And the moment he comes back, they start playing worse again.
Sucking. Hey, guess
maybe they need some motivation.
Guess who else?
It seems like the Chiefs team is like, oh, we have Patrick Mahomes, we can play easy.
Yeah. No, you can't do that.
Guess who else did that same thing?
It better be like that. Yeah, it better be like that. Hell, Seattle is doing that sort of thing a little bit, but
Drew Brees did that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, it better be like that if they want to make a playoff board. Speaking of that, that transition there, I like that a lot. That's probably the most noteworthy game of the weekend. Falcons 26, Saints 9. I happen to be here with a fan of the Atlanta Falcons, Smokey Rameriz, and I happen to be here with a fan of the New Orleans Saints, JJ last name. JJ.
What happened? What the fuck?
I was gonna ask you that, JJ.
My theory is that the Dolphins used some kind of black magic to alter probability so they could win football games. And the fallout of that somehow affected other teams too, which is why we have so many upsets.
And because Miami's kind of close to New Orleans, you think so? Like all the South got infested.
The
fell magic.
But come on, there's got to be something going on.
Smokey, what's your take on this this explanation? Do you believe in dark magic?
Well, no, I think it was a more logical thing. Like CERN had fired up the Large Hadron Collider this weekend, right? And they opened up a miniature black hole, and we all went into an alternate dimension, is what happened. Okay. That's, it makes more sense.
One in which the Falcons have been good all along, and they could play defense and stuff.
Exactly, yeah. So from this point on, the Falcons are going to win out, of course.
Okay, they're going to win out, actually.
And the Saints are going to lose.
What's their record now? Help me out. What's their record?
2-7.
7-2. 2-7.
No, sorry, 2-7. Yeah.
So 2-7. We took the over/under at 10, right? So you can't win, even if they win out. You can't win that bad anymore.
No,
just making sure.
But
that's good. So that's
we could go 9-7, and possibly make
9-7. Does that?
I don't know if that would make a wild card.
You know what? 9-7 doesn't make. You know what? 9-7 does not make the playoffs in the NFC this year.
Probably not. Maybe the AFC it would, but.
In the AFC, it gets your first round bye. Yeah, it depends where. In the NFC East, it might, but the NFC East might go to the playoffs with 8-8 record. But no, not other than that, because you got before this week you had the Vikings and Seahawks with both 7-2 records. That's the flip of 2-7 in the wild card spots. So none of that's gonna happen. I don't think so.
Speaking of 7-2 records, Jesus Christ, Saints, what happened?
What happened to the Saints? I don't know. Bad loss. And Saints are down 4 spots in the power rankings, down from 2 to number 6.
So what? They have to be on this week.
What if next week they trot out Teddy Bridgewater and they bench Drew Brees?
Watch it happen. I mean, if one more game like this, when the doubters come out, how much does it take for a guy like Brees? I mean, it's you got any other guy in Cam Newton, it took like 5 games.
Yeah.
But how much does it take for a guy like Drew Brees?
But he was playing well before the bye.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it can't directly be related to the injury, because otherwise he would have played worse before the bye than he does now.
He just couldn't score in the Falcons. I don't get it. But I can't say I don't find it a little bit funny. I don't have much of a stake in this thing other than the Saints are one of the Niners' prime competitors for the 1 seed in the NFC, so I don't even hate this at all. But we do also have to play both the Falcons and the Saints coming up. So
yes. Well, here's the thing, man. It was just a trap game. It happens. All teams go through this from time to time. You walk into a buzzsaw every now and then. It just happens.
Divisional game.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. That's a divisional game. Yeah. That is JJ's welcome to the NFL moment. By the way.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. So Dolphins beat the Colts. The Dolphins have now, I mentioned this before the broadcast, Dolphins have won more games over the last 2 weeks than the Patriots and 49ers combined.
Allow me to explain this one away as well. Ryan Fitzpatrick got tired of tanking. The team,
you think
the ownership still wants to tank, right? But Fitzpatrick is like, no, I'm tired of tanking. I'm going to go ahead and win. Mm-hmm. Screw you guys. Fire me. What are you going to do?
Is he going to get benched?
You put out Rosen, maybe, But
I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is actually the greatest con man in the history of the NFL. He steps up in a backup role. He infiltrates a team, plays just well enough to get a contract with another team the next season. We've seen it done in Tampa Bay. Remember when 4 weeks into last season we talked about him as an MVP candidate?
Oh, yeah.
When he stepped out to the press conference wearing the bling with the open shirt and
the Conor McGregor thing.
The sunglasses and everything, looking like a WWE superstar.
Jameis got benched.
That's it.
Yeah.
Jameis got benched for him. Exactly. That's how he does it. So he might be saving Josh Rosen's job. Not that would be a desirable job.
It's crazy how he can do this, though. He can go on a tear and kill people, which he's not killing people with the Dolphins because of the team around him. But he can do that. He can give you a 5 touchdown through the air game.
Yeah. He can do it like 3 times a season, though. Maybe he's the Nick Foles type of guy where you start him in the championship game, right? You get to the playoffs and everything, and then you start him for the last 2 games.
Well, yeah, but then for some weird reason, he's this balling quarterback that nobody can touch, and the next week he turns into Nathan Peterman.
Crazy. Steelers beat the Rams. Thank you, Steelers, for beating the Rams, going from 0-3 to now a win record. Just saying.
I'm giving up on the Rams.
The Steelers are not out of it. What?
I'm giving up on the Rams.
I give it up on the Rams. That's very pleasant. I like hearing that. I really love people giving up on the Rams. Good music to my ears. Panthers got defeated by the Packers.
Speaking of things that are good, yes.
Oh, everybody knew that was
rivals.
happening.
Is it good, man? I think you should look at the bigger picture here too. Packers are a rival for the NFC for the 1 seed.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
for sure.
Saints. See, if right now the Saints played like the Cardinals, it would be really tough for me because I don't want the Cardinals to win because they're rivals, obviously. But then again, the Saints are more of a danger for the 1 seed, for the Niners. So I don't know who to root for there. It's
you should be grateful to the Falcons right now, for sure.
Very similar situation in the next game, although not as much. Vikings and the Cowboys. Vikings are more of a contender for the 1 seed than the Cowboys, of course. But I dislike the Cowboys enough to appreciate this result. And we have the crazy Monday night game, which I have something to say on.
Well, speaking of appreciating the results, huh?
Do you appreciate the results? I appreciated the game. I appreciated everything about the game more than the result. Even though it's not the worst, obviously. But I have a couple things. I'm gonna structure this. First, I'm gonna mention 2 very ridiculous things. I'm gonna make some excuses. And then secondly, I'm gonna take back those excuses. I'm gonna look at the whole thing objectively. And I'm going to judge the situation here. So, first of all, and this is the absolute fact, you both know this. In the overtime coin toss, Russell Wilson calls tails. The ref flips the coin, says the call is heads, and what do you guess? The coin lands on heads. And you can go back and watch this, by the way. The video is on YouTube. It is true. JJ, can you confirm that Russell Wilson said tails?
Yes.
Geno
Smokey,
Smith.
did Russell Wilson say yes? Did Russell Wilson say tails on that coin toss?
No, Geno Smith did.
Well, the video, yeah.
No, I'm saying it was Geno Smith calling heads.
Oh, it's Geno Smith. Yeah,
it wasn't Russell Wilson. But
it was
yes,
quarterback. Yeah.
It sounds like
it was Geno Smith. Yeah,
it definitely sounds
he said tails.
Like he said tails.
He absolutely said tails. He flips it. It's heads. The rest says heads. And again, they got the ball. He threw a pick. It didn't even end up mattering.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, now let's look at the thing objectively. This was the worst game I've seen from the Niners all year, save from the Pittsburgh game, which they somehow miraculously won after 5 fumbles or something. Every other pass, it seemed like, was dropped, tipped up in the air, and frankly, Garoppolo should have had like 7 picks in that game because, like I mentioned, I think Kendrick Bourne himself had like 5 drops. The ball went through everybody's hands, and there was not a player on offense, except for Emmanuel Sanders, who was out in the first quarter, by the way, who didn't drop a crucial pass. Goodwin did it first quarter. Juszczyk did it in the first half. Kendrick Bourne did it all game long. Deebo Samuel, even though he played well, still did it. Ross Dwell did it. Everyone dropped passes. It was terrible. They would drop. They were tipped all over the place. The completion rate, obviously not very good for Garoppolo. That he had, I think, either 49 passes, completed like 28. Should have completed at least 35. So, terrible performance. And this is a little bit concerning to me because you saw that George Kittle obviously was out of the game. Emmanuel Sanders was out of the game early, and it changed the landscape. This Niner receiving core is terrible down George Kittle and Emmanuel Sanders. And it is going to break this team's back if Emmanuel Sanders and George Kittle are going to miss another game. That's what's very, very evident to me.
Yes.
And Jimmy Garoppolo is not Aaron Rodgers, so Jimmy Garoppolo isn't going to win the game by himself, or Russell Wilson for that matter. Not going to win the game by himself. He's good enough to do it with adequate help, but he's not at the stage in his career with the type of experience to be able to do that by himself. So horrible game by the receiving core. Also, what happened to the pass protection? First game, Joe Staley, Mike McGlinchey. Both starting tackles returned from injury. I mean, they can't block anyone. Jadeveon Clowney was running circles around both those guys all game.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was at, like, within the third quarter, I was thinking bring the rookies back out because that looked terrible. I mean, they could not get their hands on this guy. He was going everywhere. He had a monster game, by the way. Five or six quarterback hits, I think. Obviously, recovered that fumble for a touchdown.
Yeah, Clowney went ham.
Generally, yeah, major pressure. So they could not block him at all. And just all those negative things to crown it up, to seal the deal, there's a rookie free agent kicker that they picked up last Friday off the street because Robbie Gould tweaked his quad, couldn't kick for this game, and he Chase McLaughlin hits 2 great kicks, and in overtime he shanks a 47-yarder to win the game badly. By the way, didn't hit that right at all. So that was just sort of the last straw to crown the game.
But you can't blame the kid. I mean, he saved the game before he blew the game.
He did. Listen. I'm gonna say this. This is where I'm objective, right? I just mentioned the whole thing with the receiving. The Niners had no business taking this to overtime. They had it should not have even been this close. Absolutely deserved to lose. I'm going to be the first one to admit it should not have been this close at all. He saved the game. Jimmy Garoppolo made some great drives, set him up with great field goal position. Scored. Obviously, the defense played fantastic. Both defenses did scored touchdowns, and held it to a very close game. And here's my conspiracy though. To top of it, I was objective now. I'm gonna just leave you with this conspiracy, and it relates to the coin toss. How just a proposition. The referee's using a rigged coin. Bear with me. The coin is weighted. It's gonna show heads. Dude says tails. He says heads. Puts words in his mouth. Make sure the Seahawks get the ball. The league wants the Seahawks to win this game. Why? Because when do these teams play the next time? Week 17, the last game of the regular season. What kind of a marketing campaign is this? Niners, Seahawks, last week of the season, for all the marbles, for the one seed in the NFC. Divisional rivalry.
That could make sense because Week 17...
We want to keep the NFC West close.
Week 17
because if the Niners win this game,
has,
the division is pretty much sealed.
Week 17 generally has lower ratings also. Because the games don't matter as much. It's almost like a preseason.
But if it were, that's it, right? If it were for the one seed, though, if it was still all on the line,
it does make sense. I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say
that I believe this or allege what I just said. Just a theory.
Also, it seems pretty crazy to rig a game in overtime that, as you said yourself, had no business going to overtime.
And by the way, during regulation. The game, if anything, seemed rigged against Seattle because they got some. I'm gonna admit that too. Seattle had some bogus calls, some helmet-to-helmet hits, some pass interferences. San Francisco was definitely favored by the refs and by the calls during regulation, but then in overtime was the exact opposite. They had that terrible spot. But by the way, this is also a little bit of a complaint. That terrible spot on the 3rd and 2, I think. Their run play when it spotted him like a foot short or something for no good reason at all, when he was clearly very, very close. So why not just put a chip in the damn ball? I mean, you're still trusting old guys to eyeball this sort of stuff, which is just a matter of inches, and that's very tough to do. So just put a chip in the ball and have it done digitally already.
That's what we need. Because I don't know how many times I wanted to break a TV because you can clearly see where the ball is down and the ref runs up waving his hands like I got it. I know this. I know this. And then he places it back behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah,
I mean, behind the
so
behind the first down marker, not behind the line of scrimmage. But it really pisses me off a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The other advantage of chipping the ball is also that while it is going to be a little more expensive, that also speeds up the game flow a little bit. Because first of all, when they put the whole first down marker and the chains, they like move it to the middle of the field to like measure up whether the ball fits. That takes forever, and then those spots can be challenged.
Yes.
Then they'll fucking review that thing for like what feels like half an hour, and if it's chipped, it's just
and
one and
chipping,
done.
and they're chipping the balls already as it is to measure all the throwing velocities and angles and everything. There's a lot of technology in NFL football, so I don't know why they can't do that. Why it's such a high tech league,
tradition,
highest grossing league in sports, and the most important part of the game is literally done with the eyesight of old guys and a rope on a stick. So that's definitely. But that's for that game recap pretty much. It's not very concerning, but that receiving core definitely still is the weakness of that team. And with the two best pass catchers out, they looked absolutely terrible. So a lot of stuff has to change there. But let's leave that in the past and look towards the future, because we have another exciting week coming up. So this is going to be the prediction part. And by the way, Smokey, did you pick up on that bet that I proposed? Do you want to take that at all with Kansas City, or was that more of a joke on your side?
No. I don't have the guts to take that, but I can definitely see it happening.
You can't do that to Patrick Mahomes, now, can you? Let's start with this week's games. We had the Steelers at the Browns, and I'm also going to give JJ's opinion at the end, obviously, but for Smokey myself, this counts. So, by the way, we didn't even ask you in the beginning. How did we do? How did our predictions look, Smokey?
I was hoping you would forget that, because it wasn't.
Because it is horrible.
Was it bad again?
I mean, look how many upsets there were this week.
Yeah.
How could this be good?
Was it bad? How did it go?
We split once again. This is like a third week in a row we split perfectly, and we got 5 correct out of 13.
Wow, that's bad. That might be the worst week ever.
Horrible.
That is terrible. We lost so much money.
This is the first time we've been below 500, either one of us. And
this is such a terrible week.
Yeah, brings me to 90.5, and you're at 93.5.
Wow.
And
that was a setback, man. We gotta
never talk about that week again.
No, we gotta look to the future for real now, because we have to do better than that.
I'm very content with not talking about that week again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we all have a good reason for it now. How about the Steelers at the Browns Thursday night?
Well, both of these teams are coming off a win. This is a divisional game, and this should be actually a hard-fought, very close matchup.
Yeah.
With that being said, I'm having a hard time picking Baker Mayfield, because I feel like if I go with the Browns and pick Baker Mayfield, he's going to crap the bed. But if I don't pick him, he's going to pull out a win somehow.
Yeah.
And the Steelers' defense is amazing right now. They are actually improving every single game, and they may be a top 5 defense by the end of the season.
It seems like it,
yeah. Minka Fitzpatrick is balling out. With that being said,
it seemed pretty stupid in the beginning, but now it looks good.
Yeah, as frustrating as Mason Rudolph is to watch play right now, I'm still gonna go with the Oklahoma State over Oklahoma and say the Steelers pull this one out. These are old rivals, by the way, as a matter of fact.
They are.
That's pretty cool.
We have a lot of rivalry games this week, by the way. I'll just look at it. It's going to be a very, very good week. And a very close week, I agree with that. I skimmed through the games, and I had a tough time predicting some of those.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to agree with you on this one, though. Steelers defense, the Steelers looked terrible in the beginning. Like, they lost their first 3 in a bad fashion, and they've done very well ever since. And Cleveland pulled out a win against a winning Buffalo team, which neither of those teams we really know much of what they are. The Browns are better at every position in this game. I don't think they can win it. They've been better at every position than in a lot of games this year. They haven't been able to win those. I think the Steelers are ran better as an organization from the ground up. That goes back to ownership, that goes back to coaching, general manager, and it reflects on the team in the long run, and the consistency and the atmosphere in the locker room. They're anchored by a very solid defense, like you mentioned, that's been getting better and better. Very young, but very solid defense that's been getting better the more they play with each other. And I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna pick the Steelers. I think they're on a run, and I think they're gonna actually make a push for the AFC wild card, which we both, or everyone actually, thought it was not possible. But JJ, what's your words of wisdom on that?
I don't trust in the Browns. Let's go Steelers on this one.
You don't trust. JJ doesn't trust. That's a hot take. JJ got the hot take. I don't trust in the Browns.
Okay, that's really not too far-fetched.
No, but it's...
I mean, to be fair, it's one of the best Browns teams in a while, but that still doesn't mean that much.
Doesn't mean very much.
The Browns still live in hell.
Browns live in hell. That's a good video that everyone should watch, by the way. The Browns live in hell by John Boyce. It's fantastic. Let's hop on to Sunday, man. The Falcons coming off of a huge win, and the Panthers coming off of a loss. Smokey.
Yep. My Falcons are on fire, bro. The Panthers are trending downward. These teams are trending in opposite directions, obviously. But I'm not gonna kid anyone and say that the Falcons are going to pull this off and win every game here on out. Like, no, they looked really good. It was a trap game, as I said, and things like that just happen in the NFL and football in general. Bad teams beat good teams all the time. That doesn't mean this team has turned a corner, although I would like for it to have happened, but I can't just go out on a limb and say that that's what's happening right now. We still have Dan Quinn, who is one of the most overrated defensive minds in NFL, obviously, because he can't put together a defense that can hold water for anything. So even though Kyle Allen didn't look all that great, he was running drives against the Packers, and he almost pulled it out. I mean, Christian McCaffrey was only inches short of actually taking that game. So I'm going with the Panthers at home.
Going with the Panthers at home. I've actually had a tougher time than you would think picking this game. I'm gonna take it right at the top. I'm gonna also pick the Panthers. I think this game could be close because we both know that the Falcons are by far the biggest underachiever of the. I mean, they have with the roster they have no business being in the bottom 10 of this league at all. And, and teams like that have flashes, and we've seen a flash like that to the dismay of JJ, obviously against the Saints last week. So can it happen twice in a row? Absolutely. Can the Falcons go 8-8 in this season? I don't know. A lot of tough games still to play, but they have the talent to win more games than they lose from here on out still on their roster. Gotta come down to the defense, like you mentioned. It's not been looking good at all. Then they hold Drew Brees and that offense to 9 points. I'll pick the Panthers. I think the strength of that Panthers defense is the pass defense. They have great zone coverage linebackers, and I think they'll give this offense some fits. I think they put 2 people on Julio Jones for the most part of the game, and I think the Falcons aren't going to be able to run it as efficiently as other teams have. On the Panthers that allowed them to win, we've seen the Packers do it, we've seen the Niners do it, the teams that beat the Panthers. They ran the ball down their throat and they couldn't be stopped. I don't think the Falcons can do that. And I think the Panthers just will score on almost every possession as the Falcons defense goes back to normal, so to speak. So it should be a win for the Panthers to stay in contention, and it's going to be a mandatory win for them too. So JJ, how do you feel about this one?
I think this should be an easy pick for the Panthers, but honestly, I don't know what to think about the Falcons right now. I think I'm still going to go with a safe pick with the Panthers, but
so we all agree.
It seems like the Falcons make things possible.
So we all agree on the first 2 games. I'm curious to see if we agree on this one. Cowboys at the Lions.
Well, I think this comes down to Matt Stafford. Really, the team is just not the team without Stafford manning the offense there. And the Cowboys, that's another team that I thought I knew who they were, but there's games that they just lose who they are. I mean, you want to say that the Cowboys are a 11-win team. I mean, you would think that, but
you would think so, talent-wise. You would think so about the Falcons.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's why nobody understands football at all anymore. But I think the Cowboys get back on track. I think they're still probably winning that division. I mean, I don't see the Eagles coming for it anytime soon. Going with the Cowboys on the road, and I'm probably making a mistake by picking all these road teams again.
A lot of favoritism coming from me here, but I absolutely want the Eagles to win this division. I have faith. I believe the Eagles can do it because there would be nothing better outside of... Well, there's nothing better outside the Niners making the playoffs, obviously, or not a lot of things for me to see than the Cowboys not making the playoffs. That's one of the best things. I love that. Actually, it's a fun and not very well known fact that Jerry Jones's sad emotion is negatively proportional to my happy emotion. So whenever Jerry Jones is doing badly, I'm doing very well. That's a fact. So there's a mathematical relation there. No, not everyone knows. No, it's not a secret. I don't like the Cowboys. I'm gonna pick them though because they're a much more talented team. The Lions' offense has been diminished from the start of the year, and they look good in the beginning. They lost key players, and I don't think they're going to be able to do. I think the Cowboys are a more talented team all around. Zeke Elliott is going to go back to his old ways, and the quarterbacks to me are very, very evenly matched. I don't have a strong opinion towards like the top of the league for either of those guys. I recognize that they're both talented, but then none of those guys are going to do it alone by themselves. And I think Dak Prescott has a better team around himself, and is going to lead the Cowboys to a win that they absolutely are going to need because the NFC East might not be very good this year, but it's going to be competitive for the one spot. So, JJ, what do you think?
I'm also going to go with the Cowboys. I don't have very in-depth reasoning about this, but that was like when I looked at the matchup, that was what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah. So we still agree.
I don't think we're going to agree throughout the whole card.
No, we will not. We will not. But we agree on this one and go Lions anyway. Jaguars and Colts.
Wow, this is... Jesus, man. It feels like all these are just really tough calls. Right? Yeah. Tank Bowl. Definitely Tank Bowl here. The Jets...
Tank Bowl? I don't know.
Well, I think both these teams are actually trying to win, but they're tanking whether they know it or not.
No, Jaguars Colts. Jaguars Colts.
Oh, you know what? I was looking at the wrong matchup. You said Jags Colts.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Never mind.
You were thinking Jets and Redskins. So
yes, I was looking at my Jets Redskins. Well, yeah. Okay, whatever. This is the non-Tank Bowl. Disregard everything I just said. Jags and Colts. This comes down to quarterbacks also because Nick Foles is returning for this matchup, and we don't know right now if Jacoby Brissett will be returning for this matchup. But if Foles plays and Brissett does not, that's definitely a win for the Jags. Now, if you were to reverse that, it would be a definite win for the Colts, in my opinion. But I do know that Foles is playing from everything we've heard, and we don't know about Brissett. So, with that being said, I have to go with the Jags on the road.
Now, I'm obviously an advocate for the Gardner Minshew starter initiative.
Yes.
I think he should start. I think he should take that spot. I think he's proven himself well enough. They bring him back to Nick Foles for the reason that he's making a lot of money and they can't justify not starting him, so they are going to do that. Assuming that Brian Hoyer starts his game for the Colts, man, it's tough to pick him. It's really tough to pick him because Brian Hoyer is awful. I don't know how he's in the... Listen, he's lost everywhere except for New England. Brian Hoyer has lost everywhere. Cleveland, San Francisco, be it now at Indianapolis, and they immediately stink and lose to the Dolphins. So it's like you said, it's gonna be a gamble to is Jacoby Brissett playing or not, and I think if he at all can, he will because they have seen what they are without him. I'm gonna pick the Colts. I think Nick Foles is gonna do worse than expected, and I think Jacoby Brissett. They're gonna try to have him play. If it's not gonna happen, it's not gonna happen. But I'm gonna go with the Colts because they're the better football team, and I think Nick Foles is not gonna do too well. I think we'll see Baker Mayfield, not Baker, Gardner Minshew again. How did they get those two confused? Very
the mustache.
I was about to say it's facial hair.
Maybe. We'll see. Gardner Minshew again this season. That's my bold prediction. So JJ, what's yours?
See, it's tough to predict the whole Nick Foles situation, seeing as we haven't really seen him that much with the team. But I am also going to go with the Jaguars with the returning Nick Foles.
All right, returning Nick Foles. So we did not agree on this one. So finally we have some disagreements. Bills and Dolphins.
Well, this is another one because the Bills are trending down while the Dolphins are trending up. Like I said earlier, Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't want to tank anymore. And the ownership and management may still want to be tanking, but it seems like Fitzpatrick's taking things into his own hands. I mean, we saw that man at, what is he, 30, 38, 36, whatever he is, running at his size as well, running 4 touchdowns with his beard flapping in the wind. So I don't know what to make of the Dolphins. I mean, they did barely win 2 games, which is uncalled for if they're tanking. So someone needs to inform Ryan Fitzpatrick that he's supposed to be tanking.
He needs to get benched. They need to start Josh Rosen.
Exactly.
They need to start some more inexperienced quarterback.
Then you can definitely get your top 5 pick. You're not going to get number 1.
Fitzpatrick has the capability to win with trash sometimes. Maybe here's a theory that I have. Maybe in their minds it has crystallized over the last couple of weeks that the 2 pick is also fine because there might now be 2 guys in the draft that we value equally. We'll talk about that, by the way, in the third topic here. I don't necessarily agree with that sentiment, but a lot of people might have that.
A lot of people do.
So maybe they greenlit him. Maybe they said, Ryan, you can go ahead and win us a game. Maybe even 2 if you want to. Just don't overdo it, but we don't need the first pick anymore. Maybe that's what it was. So
maybe so.
That being said, I'm gonna pick the Buffalo Bills because can you imagine if the Dolphins won 3 in a row? I think the Bills, aside from New England, are still the only team that are to be taken somewhat serious in that division, and this is a must-win. It's on the road, obviously, divisional game. Anything can happen. Normally, this game is set up to be an upset. Nice. Is one of those trap games that you like to talk about, but I'm gonna go with the Bills. I think they have to feel the urgency now, and I think their defense is the best that Ryan Fitzpatrick has faced. So outside of New England, obviously, is the best that the Dolphins have faced. So they're gonna have some struggles there and go back to where they came from. So, Jay, what do you think?
Honestly, I'm picking the Dolphins.
Ooh.
I mean, look at what they've done.
He really does believe.
And then look at who lost to the Browns, right?
He really does believe in that dark magic, that pact.
Look at the cojones on JJ over there.
Yeah, man. Are you gonna pick the Dolphins when they play at New England?
I'm gonna see how they perform leading up to that.
The magic does, yeah. So okay, that is very, very interesting. I like that. So Smokey, what was your pick again? I forget.
It was the Bills. I never actually said it.
I don't think you said it.
So yeah, I also picked the Bills. So JD has the Dolphins. If he wins that, might have to give him a shout out again next week. Texans at Ravens.
Wow, this will be a great matchup, right?
Yeah.
And another close one. I mean, really, I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen in this game. 2 quarterbacks that are in the running for the MVP right now. And I love both of these guys. I wish I could hang out with these guys and play golf or something. I would learn to play golf just to hang out with these guys, and they probably don't even play golf. But, man, this should be a great matchup. Texans are going to get their scores through the air. The Ravens are probably going to get their scores on the ground, although you can throw on the Texans, and Lamar is getting much better at passing. He's a legitimate quarterback up and down through the air and on the ground. So As much as I don't know if you know this, but Deshaun Watson is an excellent quarterback.
Oh, Deshaun Watson's pretty good, right? Yeah.
Yeah, some would say elite.
He's really good, yeah. I'm one of those some. Yeah, he's definitely.
Okay. Just making sure you knew about the guy because he's.
Yeah, he's really good. Yeah, he's not Mahomes, but he's very good. Yeah.
But guess who else is really good? Lamar Jackson. This is amazing.
Really he's right up there.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are elite, some would say, but
they are. Yeah.
I think
now that Patrick Mahomes has made elite the second best tier in the league, absolutely they are.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, I don't know about that guy.
Oh yeah, he's really good. Mahomes is something else.
I know, never doubt.
There's not even a name for that tier because it's good, great, elite, and Mahomes because no one else invited anyway.
Mahomes
so why invent a name for that tier? Aaron Rodgers comes by for a visit like every other week, but other than that, it's a different tier. So
I'll never again doubt our Lord and Savior Patrick Mahomes. But
thank you.
I am going with the Ravens at home.
Okay, this game is you've taken it all away pretty much. This is gonna be a barn burner. This is gonna be great. Candidate for game of the year, and it's also the unofficial "Please Beat the Patriots" bowl because those teams seem to be together with my man Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, if he could get some inclination of a defense, the hottest contenders to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl outside of New England. And Lamar Jackson has demonstrated the fact that he can beat Bill Belichick's defense once so far. Can he do it twice? That's a whole different story because usually that people don't do, or do even less so than beat it once. But that being said, I'll pick the Ravens also, like you do, and home field is going to play a big part in this one. I think Lamar Jackson is right now the hottest hand in football, and he is a legitimate candidate for MVP now. We didn't we mentioned his name as sort of an outside guy a couple of weeks ago.
Yes. When
we were talking more about, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, but Lamar Jackson is right up in that conversation with everyone else now. So, by the way, the MVP race is super close. If you've noticed that, but it's never been this close this far into the season as far as I can remember. There's always been one or at most two guys. And right now, there's still 4 guys in the conversation, at least. So, should be. I mean, to me, Patrick Mahomes still is in there, even though he missed those games. But that's going to depend on a little bit on how much his team is going to actually allow him to win. Lamar Jackson's going to pull this one out, but it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be a fun game. JJ, what do you think?
I was also going to go with the Ravens. I mean, you can't deny what they've done in the past. Yes, the Texans are a little fresher coming off the bye, but I think that the Ravens definitely got... Well, definitely I shouldn't say because it's not going to be that one-sided, but you got to believe in the double threat, and,
Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, he's going to win this.
Broncos and Vikings.
Broncos and Vikings. I wanted to say this is close, but I don't think it's as close as the other games we have on this slate. Vikings look legit, like they have most of the season, except for the times they've crapped the bed. Broncos have crapped the bed most of the seasons, except for the few games where they look legit.
When it did.
Yeah. And quarterback. I don't know that much about this Brandon Allen kid. I don't even know why he's starting over Drew Lock, to tell you the truth, but he got the win.
Is Drew Lock still on IR or something?
I thought.
When can they activate?
No. I mean, it was like 3 weeks ago. They said he was cleared to play.
Oh, right.
But
then I don't get it either.
I guess Fangio likes this Brandon Allen kid. He doesn't seem to like Drew Lock. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'll let that work.
Let quarterback of the year.
I like Drew Lock as well. I've always liked Drew Lock. He's a great quarterback out of Missouri. But I'll let them work out their personal issues amongst themselves and say that the Vikings are going to take this one at home because the Broncos probably don't have the juice.
Yeah, not much to add to what you said just there. I'm going to agree with that. Vikings are better in all facets of the game. Kirk Cousins has been hot. Mm-hmm. And again, back to the MVP conversation, he's one of the very, very outside guys, obviously. But I think he's had too many really bad games.
Exactly.
To be considered, honestly. And we kind of know what he is, which is an above-average starting quarterback, and he can do things for you. He just beat the Cowboys in a close one. Outdueled Dak Prescott in a very close game.
Mm-hmm.
That was obviously very good, and the Broncos are nowhere near that type of match, so the Vikings are going to take this easily. JJ?
Yep.
All agreed. How about the Jets and Redskins?
Thanks for that brilliant explanation. Which one are we on?
Jets and Redskins.
Jets.
Tank Bowl.
Tank Bowl. See, this is what
Tank Bowl.
I was so eager to get to this game because I love a good Tank Bowl, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of either one of these teams either, because they both seem so even, I guess you could say. Dwayne Haskins, I will say Sam Darnold is a much better quarterback than Dwayne Haskins. But overall, the teams, who are the superstars? Who are their legitimate number ones? Who are their elite players? Yeah, Quentin Williams, I guess. The Jets have some defensive pieces, I guess. Redskins don't have much of anything except for their holdout that still decided not to play.
Terrible ownership. I wouldn't either in his position.
Yeah, that's true. Probably not. But the Jets, I don't know. I'll tell you this: it's a coin flip, and I'm just gonna go with the Redskins at home.
Wow, go with the Redskins.
I know you're probably going with the Jets.
I think,
yes.
Yeah, I'm pouncing on this opportunity to get a point on you. I'm going with Sam Darnold. He's really good. I'm not sure if you heard of that. You know, you talk about this a lot. You know, I don't know if you heard about this. Sam
that.
Darnold.
Yeah,
a few people. By few people, you mean me several times, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you are the only one standing on that table screaming for Sam Darnold.
I might, and I'm gonna keep doing that until they've ran him into the ground completely. Which, by the way, is still unfortunately on the table of actually happening, as we're seeing with Josh Rosen right now. But I think he's actually so good that no matter what team he's on, he's not gonna be catapulted out of the league completely, and put a capable team around him, and most importantly, a capable offensive line in front of him, which they have not done at all so far. Defense is hurt, obviously. Quentin Williams, CJ Mosley missed the majority of the season with ailments there. But yes, Sam Darnold is a very good player. He's gonna beat the Redskins, in my opinion, unless they find another creative way to somehow muck this up, which I hope they don't, because the Redskins seem to be easy prey. And that's why I picked the Jets, even though it isn't in Washington. JJ?
Well, I'm gonna go with the Jets, although it feels like I don't know what they're like. It seems like whenever I think they're going one direction, they're going the other. I don't know.
They might. You don't even know. A team that's so the inconsistency or consistency is directly related to stability on the line. Both offensive and defensive line, because all the team's consistency comes from that. A quarterback will have a bad day or a good day. Wide receiver, running back will have a hot hand or will be very, very cold one day. Communication bust in the secondary can happen on every single play to every single team. The most consistent thing in football is line play and the communication and domination in the trenches, and the Jets have been terrible at that, so they are one of the least predictable teams this year, but we have 2-1 Jets, so I'll take that. How about the Saints and Bucks in a divisional game?
Well, if you just started watching the NFL last week, you would have a completely different opinion of this game, right? I mean, the Bucks look good in their win over the Cardinals, and the Saints looked really horrible in their loss to the Falcons. But you have to play probability in this game, and probability would definitely tell you you're an idiot to go with the Bucks in this game. Even though the Bucks are at home, the Saints are still one of the best teams in football, and the Bucks are still one of the worst teams in football. Although Bruce Arians has helped them out a lot, and Jameis Winston still throws a lot of picks, but wins games here and there. But all that being said, they should bring Teddy Bridgewater out. Thank you. Just kidding. Let's go with the Saints on the road.
I wouldn't call the Bucs one of the worst teams in football, actually. Like, in all honesty, I don't think they are.
Yeah, not anymore.
Bottom tier. They're average to me. To me, they are actually an average team, which
and
to most people is not really good. But yeah, to most people, being average is not what they want in the NFL. But looking at the history of the Buccaneers is actually better than a lot of what they've experienced so far.
Oh yeah.
Ever since they drafted Jameis Winston, they didn't pick first overall. So that's all I'm going to say. I think I'll pick the Saints in this one also because it's the more reasonable choice. Trending, you'd have to think that this is going to be a close one, and I'm curious to see
it's a divisional matchup.
But it's a divisional game. Anything can happen. The Buccaneers are better than I expected them to be, and the Saints are also very good. But they just came off a very, very bad game, so you got to wonder, is there some kind of doubt there? So JJ, what is your call on this?
Well, just like the other NFC South game, this should be an easy pick.
Yeah,
this really should be an easy pick for the Saints.
But hey.
Oh boy. I feel like I can't lose faith now. I'm gonna pick the Saints, but I hope this doesn't come back to bite me.
Man, imagine that. Imagine if the Saints lost 2 divisional games back to back.
Ooh.
I mean,
well, then I gotta start predicting against them and then invoke the curse,
The big easy will turn into the big panic very quickly.
Yeah.
How about the Cardinals and Niners then, another divisional game?
So many divisional games this week.
Yeah. A lot of rivalries.
Well, the Cards lost to the Bucs. What else is there to say for that? I mean,
the Rams lost to the Bucs.
Yeah. So maybe
Seattle almost lost.
Maybe it's like you said, the Bucs are not a bad team anymore. They're just an average team. They're the Andy Dalton line of teams.
They are. When Andy Dalton was still an average quarterback.
Yeah.
They're also famous. Yeah.
Famous. And so, if that's the case, then the Cards are the Sam Darnold.
The Cardinals actually are the Ryan Fitzpatrick of teams. Because they'll explode like 3 times a year. And last time they exploded, it was actually against the Niners for no good reason.
Yeah, exactly.
2 weeks ago.
They put up points every game, It's not like they're getting blown out and shut out. They're putting up points. They're competitive in all their matchups. They just can't win the dang things. And 49ers, they just put up a really good fight against one of the upper class teams in the league. I know you hate to hear that, but
no, it's true, absolutely.
The Seahawks are right in the runnings right now, along with the 49ers, and you could get both of these teams in the playoffs, which is actually a most likely scenario. The 49ers and the Seahawks are going to be in.
Yeah. One of them is, whatever team gets to buy it, the wild card is definitely also going to.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, this is at Levi Stadium, so taking the 49ers at home.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the Niners. Going to trust in the fact that lightning doesn't strike twice. The Cardinals had their best game of the season against the Niners 2 weeks ago, to the dismay of yours truly. I was looking for a blowout. I was sort of like I felt a bit like a Roman peasant, in the Colosseum. I was just waiting for blood, just for some slaughter or some bird execution. Didn't happen. They put up a very good fight, and they played way up to their competition. I'm sincerely hoping it doesn't happen again, and I'm picking the Niners. JJ.
I mean, you gotta go with the Niners. Yes, they lost one game to the Seahawks. Very close game. First of all, they're not gonna let that happen back to back. Second of all, they're not gonna let that happen against the Cardinals necessarily. So, I think you'd be dumb not to pick the Niners here.
You can't lose to a bird more than once a year. It's just not cool. Which means we're gonna beat the Falcons, by the way.
I mean, that also seems like a relatively safe pick, to be honest.
You know who said that last week? We're Saints fans.
Yeah, we said it. We did. You know how the Falcons
Why do you have to keep reminding me?
AFC favorites.
You're just having me on the show to just rub it in my face that the Saints lost.
That's what it's like. Bengals and Raiders.
Bengals and Raiders. Raiders are on fire, bruh.
Yeah, not the type of fire I was expecting, though. The good type of fire, the metaphorical fire.
Yes, we were thinking dumpster fire, but
yeah,
They're actually good for some weird reason, and we've been through that in this podcast, so I'm not gonna reiterate this. That they're above the Andy Dalton line, and Bengals,
Raiders and Bucks. Raiders versus Buccaneers right now. Who do you take? I'm gonna take famous James.
Yeah, I'd probably take the Bucks in that matchup. Yeah. But it'd be close.
So then you can't say the Buccaneers are bad and the Raiders are above average.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But the Raiders are supposed to be bad. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Andy Dalton line, we're going to change that to the Ryan Finley line.
Ryan Finley hasn't done anything to be considered the 16th best quarterback. It's the Kirk Cousins line. Dak Prescott.
Ryan Finley's the new Jeff Driscoll, man. Come on.
Josh Allen line, whatever.
Either way, the win streak will continue in this. There's no way around it because the Bengals don't want to win. They don't like winning. It hurts their feelings if they win.
Yeah. No.
So,
definitely.
Going with the Grudens.
I'm gonna do it too. You know, I've explained in great detail top of the broadcast how it is a physical impossibility for the Raiders to win a game this year, but the Bengals seem to actually have taken that theory, putting it into practice right now. And there's that left-hand quarterback, man, playing right now.
Tank for Tua.
Is looking really good now. Tank for Tua. My bet, obviously, I got a full meal on that bet, and I'm gonna need that to happen. So Bengals are gonna lose this at Oakland. GG.
The Bengals lose football games, and that's what they're gonna keep doing.
That is what they keep doing. That's a good call. Patriots at Eagles, a rematch of a Super Bowl, a certain game that is very near to JJ, and he's gonna explain to you why that is. But first of all, what are you picking, Smokey?
Well, I don't think this is going to go the same route that it went in the Super Bowl. Even though the Eagles are at home and the Pats got stunned by the Ravens in their last game, this could be another trap game, to tell you the truth. But I have to go with probability and pick the Pats at home.
So, Bill Belichick coming off of a bye week, 2 weeks of preparation after having lost the game. Playing against another bird team, that doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, it doesn't.
And it's a Super Bowl. There is, I guarantee you that in the mind of Bill Belichick, he hasn't forgotten this. There's a gripe there. That
Revenge
Super Bowl
game.
is still absolute. That's a revenge game. And if he can't, he's gonna pile it on. By the way, if he can, he's gonna pile it on. I don't think he can because the Patriots' offense is very mediocre this season. But their defense has been outstanding, except for one. Certain Mr. Lamar Jackson that they could not deal with any sort of way. And if you remember back, by the way, the last time a quarterback took apart this defense in the same way Lamar Jackson did, Colin Kaepernick, with a very, very similar style. So, I think they'll have a better chance against the Eagles here. I'm looking forward to it being a close game. I hope it will be, but I'm going to pick the Patriots also.
The Patriots win football games. That's for most time what they do.
They don't.
But I feel like it's still very much the safer pick to pick the Patriots.
And imagine if the Eagles won this though. That would be a statement for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I think in general beating the Patriots is definitely a statement. As is beating the Niners right now. Yeah. So that happened. No, but I think being one of the best teams in the league is gonna remain a factor for the Patriots, and thereby they're gonna win this.
So we all do agree on this. How about the Bears and Rams? I'm looking forward to hearing about this.
Boy. I don't know. I really don't know. Like I said, I'm out on the Rams, but I don't know if I've told you this, but I don't believe in Matt Nagy, and I don't believe in Mitchell Trubisky.
Who do you believe less in?
Okay, listen, Matt Nagy is not an idiot.
No, he's not.
We know that from trustworthy sources.
Yes,
but Sean McVay is an offensive genius.
He is.
But the Rams...
Not as much as Kyle Shanahan, but he is. He does know his stuff. Yeah.
Some would argue, but...
Yeah, I think so.
But the Rams... The Rams are not winning with their offensive genius. I think a lot of this is their offensive line. They lost two of those guys from last season, and that has really hurt them. Their offensive line is not holding up like they were last season. And Jared Goff is not good under pressure. That's the bottom line. I mean,
Jared Goff has fallen off.
Speaking of mediocre, the guy was mediocre all along. It was just the massive offensive line that they had there and the weapons running downfield. Yes, and Todd Gurley, who has some touchdowns, but other than that, is really irrelevant this season. The Bears. Oh God, the Bears win sometimes, but they're not good at football. I'm going with the Rams at home.
All right, the Rams. I was hoping you would pick the Bears, just because you were talking yourself into doing it. I think for a while.
Going on and on. That's how I won that one pick with the Bears last week over the Lions. But
that happened. Unfortunate. I also picked the Rams though, because I'm not even gonna talk myself out of it. Bears won. Rams, like you mentioned, are not very good. Which I cannot stress enough how much I appreciate the fact that the Rams were not good. But I think they are going to win this game. It would surprise me very, very strongly if they didn't win at least this game. And if they do, we can officially declare them the definition of mediocrity, I think. If they lose to the Bears, they are done. I think we agree on that. So, JJ, what do you got?
I really like being a contrarian, and I think it's not too far-fetched here. Let me take the Bears.
Let's take the Bears. Man, please, be my guest. Man, let it happen. I'll take it. I'll take it twice. I'll absolutely take it. But I guess for better judgment. Oh, by the way, Smokey, one monster on the Cardinals?
Yeah, I mean.
And by the way, I won mine for the first time last week. So thank you to the Toots for letting me win a monster. There's only like 7 more to catch up on. But the Cardinals are not going to do it. Actually, that was a bad pick on. I shouldn't even have done that. That was a bad pick on my side. But Chiefs and Chargers, the Monday night game. How about that one?
Well, speaking of letdowns, no one was even talking about it, but I figured I'd bring it up. The Chiefs. I'm going with the Chiefs.
Nah.
If they don't win this game against the Chargers, who are supposed to be good but really awful, if they don't win this game, then I'm out on the Chiefs. I don't think they make it to the playoffs if they don't win this game.
So wait, so Chargers win this, then you take the bet next week.
Ooh,
Chiefs lose this week. Raiders win this week.
I mean, it's not going to be the Broncos.
The Raiders are going to win this week. That's not a question.
Yeah, Raiders win and Chiefs lose this week.
If they lose to the Chargers, I'll take the bet next week. I'm going with the Chiefs.
Unless Patrick Mahomes walks out of that building with carrying his head under his arm, I'm going to also take that bet on the side of the Chiefs. Next week. But we'll get there. It probably won't get there because the Chiefs are going to win this game. But you also picked the Chiefs, right? You picked the Chiefs.
Yes.
They're going to win this game. The Chargers, along with the Falcons, are one of the biggest underachievers this year. Just cannot find their rhythm somehow. They beat the Packers. They come back and lose to what should be the most dysfunctional team in NFL history, and somehow is not. No idea what's happening with the LA Chargers. I like the team, and I wish for them to somehow make a push to the AFC wildcard race, but it just looks like they are too inconsistent to do it. And if you lose to the Raiders, you're not going to make that happen. So Chiefs should, for all intents and purposes, win this. I know this is going to be an offensive game because the Chiefs' defense is obviously terrible. So expect 300-plus yard games out of both quarterbacks. But Patrick Mahomes just is the better player, and they are going to score the extra 7 points when it comes down to it. So, JJ, what do you got?
I think I have to go with the Chiefs here. I mean, they're the Chiefs. They have Patrick Mahomes. Like, you kind of can't go against that. But let's just say that I wouldn't be too surprised if they lost again.
No, you can't be surprised with anything the Chargers do. They'll beat the Packers and then turn around and lose to the Raiders. That's going from It's looking really good to looking really bad.
So that's what the Chargers and the Falcons do.
Yeah, Falcons too. Imagine Chargers playing the Falcons right now. That game, I mean, I wouldn't even know where to begin picking that.
I mean, I picked the Chargers, but
I would say 41-40 Falcons.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's looking bad. I might also pick the Chargers on that one, but I don't even know where to begin. So let's call it that. That's all the predictions for the NFL. Let's hop onto a lower level of football. We brought it up tangentially before, but a lot of people are alleging several things. As a matter of fact, I've heard one person, that Smokey, alleges something to me just this morning, actually, as a point of this recording, and that relates to the college football playoff. And you seem to have a problem with Alabama participating in the Alabama Invitational.
Oh yeah, I do not want to see a team ever again make it to the 4-team playoffs. If we had an 8-team, that's perfectly fine. I don't want to see a 4-team playoff infested with a team that did not win their championship ever again. Like, I really don't. I mean, they've done this twice for Alabama, and okay, yeah, they went on to win, but there should be some there should be a prerequisite that says you have to play 13 games to make it fair, because all these kids have went through an extra game than you did. Like, you lost your championship, so you get a first-round bye? Is that how it's working? I mean, come on. I know you love the Crimson Tide for some reason, and I'm not a fan of the Crimson Tide.
I love the Crimson Tide. I like them. I appreciate me some Alabama football.
Yeah. Inbreds. Well, what can we say about this?
Hey, you're dangerous. Listen, you are from Georgia, right? That is dangerously close.
I'm just kidding. I know we probably
also, I believe that the team probably doesn't just pick up local kids.
No, dangerously close. That is also true. They recruit all over the place, man. IMG and then St. John Bosco, all those high school teams in California, Florida. That's where the big recruits come from.
Yeah, well, everybody gets. All the royalty of college football gets kids from IMG. That's a great place for a lot of those kids make it to the NFL as well. But
that place is treated like an NFL franchise.
Yeah, if you want your kid to make it to the NFL, that's where you send them.
Or one of the LA schools, actually. Somehow California has been outperforming IMG the last few years, but that's still a whole nother level. We might have to talk about that at some point.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I don't want to see. I want to see whoever wins the SEC make it to the playoffs. And I don't care. Like, I'm an SEC fan, but I don't care if they don't put another SEC team in there. It doesn't have to be 2 SEC teams. Like, I was last year when Georgia still had a chance. You know, they were right up there with Oklahoma for the 4th spot after losing the SEC. I was a proponent of that, of saying that Georgia doesn't belong in the playoffs after losing the championship, because I don't. But then the SEC is so much better than every other division. Like, do you want to force a team like Minnesota in the playoff when you know exactly for a fact that Alabama's better than them, just out of the principle of not having 2 SEC teams? No, I want the 4 best teams that actually played 13 games to be in the playoffs. Okay,
but you can be one of the best teams without having played 13 games. And you know, by the way, that Alabama is a top 4 college football team right now.
I don't know about that. I mean, I'd say top 6 maybe. I don't know about top
6.
4.
Who they losing to?
They'd lose to Georgia right now.
No, they would not. Stop it.
They're losing to Ohio State. Ohio State probably blows them out. Of course, they lost to LSU, and
Alabama right now, Alabama loses to, in my opinion, exclusively Ohio State.
Oh,
the LSU thing,
they already lost to LSU.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen again. Well, and we'll see that. By the way, that's not going to happen again. They don't lose to Clemson. They don't lose to Georgia. They lose to Minnesota. They're too well ran.
Not Minnesota, but definitely the other three. I think that's. I mean, look, dude, their defense is a bunch of freshmen who just haven't put it together yet. That defense is not good whatsoever, and with Tua being injured, he threw for over 400 yards in this game, so you can't really blame it on Tua. And if he was healthy, maybe the game would have been even closer than what it was. But this was
won that game.
This was a late comeback, man. They were getting beat up for 3 quarters badly. They were getting embarrassed in the first half of that game.
But how come we're holding Alabama to higher standards than any other team? Like if I told you there's this team who wins every game and they lose to the number 1 ranked team only, that team should be a playoff contender, right? And that's exactly what Alabama is. Alabama's gonna win out. They're gonna win the Iron Bowl, and they're gonna win
ranked number 2 until.
Well, they're number 1 right
game.
now. Yeah.
Yes.
Alabama, they're gonna win out. They're gonna win the Iron Bowl, and they're gonna win it hard. They're gonna blow out Auburn. Oh, they are. Come on.
I think they beat Auburn, but I don't think they blow them out.
They blow out because
Auburn
they
has
feel like they
defense.
have to. They feel like they have to, and they will. If Tua's fully healthy, he's gonna blow everybody out. By the way,
you know, Alabama looks to me like Oklahoma of the past few seasons.
Stop it.
Yes, that's
you
what
did
they
not
look
say
like right
that.
now.
Yes. You didn't say that.
Yes, that's exactly.
I can't believe you say that. Tell me that when Alabama loses to South Carolina. You can tell me that again.
When they lose to who?
South Carolina.
Oh, come on now. We were talking about Oklahoma and Alabama, and you got to try to bring up some sour grapes? Okay. All right, well, remember the Iron Bowl of 2 years ago?
Yeah, I remember. I remember the kick 6 even.
When a 2-loss Auburn came in there and mollywopped the Crimson Tide.
And who went to the playoffs still?
Yeah, and it wasn't fair. I mean, they had a bye. That's the reason they won, because they had a bye. Other than that, Clemson.
So aside, take out Georgia, right? Because take out Georgia, because I don't. That's just that. I think that's favoritism on your side. Who should be in the playoff over Alabama?
Ohio State.
Yes, agreed.
LSU.
Agreed.
And Clemson. And Clemson,
if they go undefeated, agreed. Yes.
Yes. And then then you're just arguing semantics on the 1-loss teams. But
who did Alabama lose to versus who did Georgia lose to?
But I'm not saying at this moment right now Georgia should be in there. But if they win the SEC, they definitely should be in there.
But they're not going to win the SEC.
All right, you want to make a bet?
Georgia. Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Stylistically, who better to beat LSU than Georgia? Georgia has a massive run game, right? Well, LSU is not good at defending the run. We saw Najee Harris, who would probably be like number 3 on Georgia's team in running back. He had the game of his career. All right, I'll put a monster on it.
Let's do one monster on Georgia not winning the SEC, and I'm not going to bet on the playoff, obviously, but Georgia is not as good as Bama or LSU. If Alabama had lost to an unranked team, do you think that they would be in the top 4 right now?
No, I mean every good team.
No.
Hold on, should we say that New Orleans sucks?
That's NFL. That's a different system.
Look, Georgia lost to Auburn that year that they made it all the way to the national championship. Because every good team has a bad game from time to time. And no, Georgia is not as good as they were.
So Alabama's one bad game against the best team in football, in college football right now, should disqualify them from the playoff.
No, that it's not. It's not that they're not good enough to be in there. The problem is the principle of the thing, that they're not playing as many games as the other teams that are in there, and that's not fair.
So do you want him to play another game against some trash team? Like, do you want him to play one more game against Northwestern and put 50?
No, they already had one of the easiest schedules. This was the first ranked team they've played this season.
Yeah, it was. And it was a close game and they lost. And they're going to be playing Auburn.
It really, I mean, it was only close because they got a lot of garbage time. You know, I don't know, man. I think LSU. I don't like LSU, by the way. This kind of hurts because I really don't like LSU.
I know you don't.
But LSU outclassed them and outplayed them. And
outclassed. That's even making it sound like they beat about 50. That's not outclassed.
They should have if the
Ohio State outclassed Maryland. That was not outclassing.
If the first half happened twice, if they would have kept playing like they did in the first half, they would have beaten by 50.
I mean, Georgia was beating Alabama for the longest time, and Tua showed up. Is that actually?
Yeah.
I think I've gotten it. Is that why you don't like Tua?
I like Tua. Why would you think I don't like Tua?
I don't know, man. I'm getting the vibe.
I would pick Tua over Joe Burrow right now. If I
was okay. Thank you. So would I. By the way.
Go ahead.
That's, by the way, going to be a discussion after the season as we go into the draft. I have a feeling that this is going to be brought up. And by the way, I was going to get back to you on this, and I'm not sure if you want to still do it, but you proposed a bet to me earlier in the season. And I think you know what I'm talking about, and I don't think you want to do it again, do you?
Oh, what is it? The Tua going to Cincinnati?
No, the Jake Fromm bet.
Oh, Jake Fromm will be a top 3?
Yeah.
No, well...
if you want to take that still, I'd be down to do it now.
I think Jake Fromm stays another season at Georgia, to tell you the truth.
All right, so we can make it in case he comes out.
That he's a top 3
quarterback.
You know, with the way the draft goes, it's all about how you do in the playoffs and in your bowl game. It's a recency bias. They definitely have a championship bias, you know, because whoever makes it to the championship is going in the first round. You know, they're going to pick that team apart in the first round. Mm-hmm. That's why Clemson and Alabama gets hit every season.
Yeah.
So yeah, if they were to make it into the playoffs, they win the SEC, they're definitely getting into the playoffs. So if they win the SEC, Jake Fromm is definitely going into top 3. And that's getting harder to say because, you know, Joe Burrow wasn't in this discussion when we talked about that originally.
Exactly. I was always thinking Tua, Justin Herbert, and those were the 2 names, and then Joe Burrow showed up.
Yeah. Oregon's
and
not.
I like Justin Herbert.
They have a good team, but Herbert reminds me a lot of Jake Browning from last year. You know, Heisman contender, you're going to be the first draft pick. You know, and then he fell off and was nowhere to be seen at the Heisman ceremony and was undrafted.
But he's been doing fine, Herbert. Oregon might be Georgia right now.
Oregon might what?
Might be better than Georgia right now.
All right, I'm done with this podcast.
Hey, what difference is bigger, Alabama to Georgia or Georgia to Oregon?
You
They're all the same record.
You cut out. What'd you say? Alabama and Georgia? What?
Alabama, Georgia, Oregon are all the same record right now. Which of those teams are closer to each other?
Alabama and Georgia.
Really?
Yeah, because the Pac-12 is a joke. Pac-12 is the worst division in college football. I mean, that's the worst Power 5 grouping of all.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I think Georgia is probably better than Oregon, but Alabama is still in a different class. But JJ, you want to actually break this up or something? Like, give us some insight of objectivity.
I don't watch enough college football. I'm way too busy on Saturdays lately. I don't know.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah. You gotta watch more highlights.
Yeah,
I'm generally kind of a person that, you know, if I can't catch a game live, I usually don't watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So can we agree though that if you go undefeated, you probably make the playoffs? So LSU, Ohio State, Clemson.
Well, see, yeah. If you win the championship, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, But see, that was the problem with Notre Dame last season. They weren't that good, but they were undefeated, so we have to put them in. They're undefeated, and then they got blown out in the first round.
And we have. I think Baylor is still undefeated.
Yes, they're not.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to lose to Oklahoma, to tell you the truth. Maybe lose to Oklahoma twice in the coming weeks.
What if they win?
If they win, and Oklahoma, that's actually a possibility because Oklahoma's looked like not great. I mean, they lost big time to Kansas State, and they barely won to Iowa State this past week. Barely pulled that off. And then they didn't win. They just barely survived. It's possible, but yeah, I mean, I'll put the Big 12 right up there with the Pac-12. Like, the division is just not good, so...
Defense is archaic.
Yeah.
That's, by the way, what causes...
doesn't mean as much.
Yeah, that's, by the way, what causes Baker and Collar and maybe Jalen Hurts to score all these Heismans, because they're playing against nobody.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I don't think Jalen actually wins it this year, like a lot of people are saying.
No, I don't think at this point he does. I don't think he does.
He's played bad. I mean, I'll say he's played bad halves of football. Like, he's had good halves in both of those games, but he also had some really bad halves in both of those games.
I think Joe Burrow is a very popular pick right now. Can you imagine Tua going his entire college career without a Heisman?
That's very possible because...
Very possible. Because the Heisman isn't worth anything anymore. It hasn't been for several years now. That's what I take from that. But I think we're going in circles a little bit on the college debate. To me, the playoff teams are the top 4 teams right now. This is LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama. Those are the 4 best teams in football, in college football, and they should go to the playoff. But we will see. And we'll see in the SEC championship game. And see how stuff develops. To me, Georgia, Oklahoma are not really in the running. Their losses were too egregious, in my opinion. But I'm pretty sure
I'm telling you, 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, we saw Clemson lose to Syracuse in the exact same fashion that Georgia lost to Carolina. Still come back and win the college and the national championship.
The other question is if they should make the playoff there, which I don't think they should. But we'll see. We'll definitely have to go back and talk. A lot of stuff is gonna come down to how you win certain games, not just sneak by them, but how you win. If Alabama just sneaks out a 21-20 win over Auburn, let's say, and looks bad doing it, their chances are going to be a lot worse than if they blow them out.
I can see that game going that route, definitely, because Auburn's defense is really good.
I think Alabama, I think if they feel the pressure, they're gonna pile it on. They're gonna actually show the effort to beat them handily.
So you think Saban is much closer to Belichick than anyone realizes?
Oh yeah, Saban is Belichick in college.
He is. I bet they have like this weird mansion that no one knows about where they
for sure.
They hang out and have servants and
absolutely. I'm very sure that Belichick. The whole thing is plotted too. Nick Saban didn't stay in Miami because Belichick didn't want him in the division.
Exactly.
I'm sure all that happened.
This is the shadowy elite of the football world.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We've been going for a while today. Been a long podcast. Hope everybody stuck with us to the end. We had a lot of stuff to talk about, and it's not necessarily gonna go down over the next few weeks because NFL is always hot, and college obviously getting into the interesting phase. Also, has anyone noticed the NBA season has started? Anyone took notice?
Who watches that stuff?
Yeah, who watches that until playoff time, right?
For the people who are into that sort of thing.
I'm really looking forward to the draft, you know?
Oh, yeah, that was something I wanted to point out to you after my sorrow from a few weeks back.
Be the highlights of the Warriors.
Yeah, I wanted to point out that not only did your 49ers lose, but also Alabama lost, and also the Warriors lost.
Well, the Warriors lose every game. They're terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's hurt. Like, how can you get this injured to all your superstars? I mean, D'Angelo Russell is out there averaging a triple-double, putting up 50 on people. He's just playing for trade value at this point. Everyone's hurt. I mean, he's playing with the scout team. It's terrible.
Professional sports team, everyone injured.
Yeah.
I feel like you've had a similar talk to this like a while ago.
About the Niners?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had that same issue going on. That's true.
There seems to be a certain geographical proximity there. I don't know. Maybe the weather is...
Oh, the weather is phenomenal, actually. The
know.
weather is fantastic. In football, people get hurt more. That is true. Fun fact before we end it, just to end this.
Potholes on the sidewalk. Let's go.
For sure. The hills, man's bad for the joints.
Yeah.
Here's the fun fact for everyone who stuck with us to the very end. You deserve to know this. Last week, going into last week, the NFL season, the Buffalo Bills did not have a single player on their injury report at all. They are the healthiest team in football and probably ever in the history of the NFL halfway through the season right now.
And couldn't win.
So,
Jesus.
Yeah, there is still lost to Cleveland. There you go. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching this podcast. Drop a like on it if you did enjoy it, please, and subscribe to Beyond Football, as well as the Trash Talkers. That is Smokey's YouTube channel, which you can find a link to that on my channel page. And we have a lot more stuff to get into, but as for now, our predictions stand. Let us know yours in the comments, and what do you agree with, what do you disagree with, who do you got in a lot of those very, very tight games. Looking forward to seeing those from you in the comments. But until that, you got anything to add, Smokey?
That's it for this week, man.
No, JJ, do you have anything to add here?
No.
Do you like being a guest on the Scoreboard?
Yeah.
That's pretty good, right? So we'll see if you get some of the picks for it where you upset us both. But we'll talk about that next week. So everybody, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Doses.